The law also makes it illegal to sell flavors that imitate food brands or use fictional characters. Mariano says the illegal products are tied to organized crime.
Recently, the administration provided $200 million for the enforcement of this organized crime. We have a registry. Now you need the money to go into these shops, you need the overtime, and you need the ability to allow police to go in and do their job. And once they do, they will begin to deter this problem.
78% of those surveyed say they are in favor of legislation that supports enforcement efforts to combat illegal vape products. I'm Frida Ross, Arkansas News Service. Find our trust indicators at publicnewsservice.org.
Support for KABF 88.3 FM comes from listeners and community partners. If you're a business owner or planning an event and would like information on how it can be announced on KABF, contact our office at 501-372-6119. That's 501-372-6119.
There are kids in this country who didn't have a parent at their baseball games or recitals because their parents were serving in faraway places. But now they're coming home. The Wounded Warrior Project assists them through the Warriors to Work program.
My mom used to be a tank programmer, and now she works with computers. I'm really glad she's home because I can't eat my dad's marshmallow macaroni anymore.
To support the Warriors to Work, contact Wounded Warrior Project at findwwp.org. Welcome home the brave.
What am I doing wrong? I can't get my song to play. Yeah, it's not. You don't hear it, do you?
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing wrong? It's plugged into this thing right here. So, see right there. Am I supposed to be plugged into this?
Yeah, one, yeah.
So, wait a minute. So what do I think I need to do? Try again. Oh, well, maybe it's me. Yeah, it's playing in my ear.
Oh, this is right.
Hmm.
This is all right.
Mm-hmm. That's all it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
You're listening to KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. Hotep is already on the line, wishing all of us life, prosperity, and health as we get into community voices. I'm just a little discombobulated because my song won't play. I'm going to try one more time.
and they get their name on the building, and something you think, oh, that's a great philanthropist. That's someone who did something great. But I look at it in another aspect is that you're trying to leave something behind so that when other people see it, they saw that was a great person. But was that a great person, or is it just somebody who felt like if I put my name on this, later on my legacy would live? And you look at what this president is doing with that, is that people will look back years from now and say, "Oh, he must have been a great president because his name is everywhere." But it's the same thing in our lives, and thinking about it this morning, I said, what type of legacy or what type of, what do I leave that people can look at and say, because, you take Robert Whitfield, you take Al Flanagan, they left legacies that you could look at and you could talk to people and you could see that they had an impact on the lives of people that changed the lives of those people, that helped them go in a direction that was helpful. All you have to do is look at Dr. Whitfield and see what she has done, and you can see that legacy. And I think that's something that's very important in this time. Change is difficult. Change is hard. But at some point, you have to make that change if you want to be a person that leaves a legacy behind, or leaves something behind that others can follow.
And it's interesting as you talk about names on buildings. My understanding, oh, wait a minute. Hotep says, happy birthday, Tony. It's your birthday.
Hey, we're going to party like it's your birthday.
It's interesting you talk about names on buildings, because my understanding is most of the time when a person gets a name on a building, it's because they paid for it to be there. And so they contribute, they donate to whatever the institution is. And in honor of that donation, the person's name will be affixed to the institution. And I thought about that when Dr. Whitfield is asking us to consider spending the money that we would spend on flowers in a different way. Like thinking about ways that we need to change how we look at and how we move in spaces, traditional spaces. Like most people, that's what they want to do. They want to send flowers to the church, to the funeral home for the service, and for her to ask us, let's not do that. Let's think about changing the way that we navigate this space that we call funerals. Sometimes it's a memorial service. There are different ways that we can do this. There are different ways that we can gather, different ways that it can look if you are open to being open to change. And one of the things that makes it so difficult for us to change, I think, is because we are so rooted in that. But this is the way it's always been done. This is all I know. Instead of saying, well, this is what I know, that's what I knew at that time. But there's a little adage that says, when you know better, you can do better, which simply means that when you're learning different things, when you're being enlightened in different ways, when something else is brought to your attention, you have the ability to shift. And we do shift. We say that change is hard. It is, and it can be, but it also can be very easy, because some of you have made decisions and some of you have said, I'm not smoking another day. Boom, you ain't smoking no more. Some of you have been addicted to drugs. I ain't smoking no more. You want to lose weight, you go like it. Sometimes it doesn't take a long time. It's not very difficult. It's about you having a made up mind to do what it is you want to do. And how do we get you to the point that you make up your mind? And sometimes people get to a life or death situation, and that helps you make up your mind. But what if we said, oh no, I have the capacity before it gets that far? I used to say to my daddy, I would say something like, Dwayne, talking about my brother Dwayne, ooh, he got on my last nerve. And my daddy would say, why you wait till he got on your last nerve? Why you wait that long? Because see, my daddy would check you early. So that's what my daddy said. Why are you waiting that long for somebody to deal with whatever the issue is? And so I appreciate her getting us to think about a new way of gathering together as it relates to the celebration of life for her father, which again happens on December 27th at 11 a.m. at Union AME Church on Pulaski. So I was thinking about oh wait, hold on just a minute. Caller, you're live on the air, KABF. Thanks for calling.
Good morning, you all.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, listeners. You know, you mentioned about the change. Fear the unknown will make you not want to change and go along with the program. Now, me personally, myself, with people, not so black people, whatever, I would not make up no more excuses for people being ignorant of things. We want to take the same Bible that teach slavery and endorse it. Even in the New Testament, that goes against the grain of the man they said come to save the world. There's no more excuses for you. You are fools. That's what you is. You don't want to righteousness. You can't change the nature of a bird dog into a pit bulldog. We dealing with evil ass people on this planet. That's just real fact. And they are not going to do right. And if you don't think they're going to change, talk to him as a God. He done God stuff. He done what any other ancient God would do. And all of them operate like that. Killing all over the place. You don't do it my way, I'm going to bomb you. You know, that's what ancient gods used to do. And they still don't. So I'm not going to make up no more excuse for black people talking about slavery is my problem. Your problem is you are living in fear and you don't want what's right for your own self. And that's all I have to say, sir.
Thank you so much, Colin. We have here's Mayor Lisa Hicks Gilbert. Good morning, good people. I've been out of pocket, but it's good to tune in today. And I'm glad you're back. You've been out of pocket. I'm glad you're here. Glad that you are joining us for the show. And then Lo says to us, here's what Lo says: change is constant. Either adapt to change or it will roll right over you. Change is constant. Either adapt to change or it will roll right over you. I'm so glad that the caller mentioned fear, because that's part of our conversation today. We're talking about change, what keeps us from changing. And it's fear, but it's the way that we've been conditioned to think about fear rather than really delving into what fear really is. And so when most of the time we talk about fear, we say, well, wait a minute, I'm scared because this might hurt me. I'm trying I want to shield myself against the pain. Caller, you're live on the air, KABF. Thanks for calling.
Hello. I just wanted, this is Virgil Miller. I wanted to say something about Bob Whitfield. When I started my banking career in 1977 as a young management trainee at Saves and Loan, it was only a handful of black people in banking. Bob Whitfield was one of those people. He took me under his wing. He taught me how to be a professional. He never let me forget that I was a black person representing a black community, and I had a responsibility to give back to people. He was a wonderful leader. He stood tall for the black community, and I will always remember how he took care of a young Virgil Miller that didn't know anything about what responsibility to the black community was all about when I got into banking. And I just wanted to give that tribute to him because he meant so much to me, and I'm sure he meant so much to a lot of black people. And on behalf of all of those folks, I want to say he will be missed. And I'm praying for Dr. Whitfield and her whole family. I've already reached out to her, and we're going to be doing something special at the South End Park, aka Sunset Tigers Park. So I wanted to call in and say that.
Appreciate you. That's Black Man Politician on the line. As a matter, thank you so much for that. We should open the phone lines for everyone who would like to make a tribute to Dr. Whitfield's father, Robert Bob Whitfield, or to Coach Al Flanagan. So the phone lines are absolutely open for all conversations, including the tributes that you might want to offer. I appreciate that, Virgil Miller. spearheading that. And so here we are at 501-433-0088. The phone line is open at 501-433-0088. Here's Mayor Lisa Hicks Gilbert. Most people want change, but very few want to be part of the sacrifice and hard choices that comes with bringing about the change. Most people want change, but very few people want to be a part of the sacrifice and hard choices that come with bringing about that change. That's what, and I know she knows what she's talking about.
And even though, and I was having this conversation with somebody earlier, I think it was yesterday, and we was talking about change. And when it comes to Black people, most of Black people, and well, not just Black people, I think with a lot of people, I just put it that way. Religion has, in so many ways, guided change. Even though, even the Bible speaks constantly of change, and I think in Ecclesiastes, it's talking about there's a time and a season, so there's a change that happens. But a lot of times, people are so traditionalized or indoctrinated or brainwashed into their religion that even when a change is there for the betterment or for the good of you, it goes against what you have been indoctrinated to. And then that's where the fear comes in, that if I make this change, what it's going to look like? You know, are people, you know, how people going to look at me? What people going to say about me? You know, how's God going to look at me? Instead of just saying, you know what, this change is going to be best for me. And I think that's one thing that when you talk about that fear, I think that's one of the greatest fears that we have.
It's interesting that you talk about change in the Bible. The greatest change, the most amazing, the most impactful, the most significant change that we can find in the Bible is when we go from the Old Testament to the New Testament. So in the Old Testament, we have the 10 Commandments that were given through Moses, but then the people turned those 10 Commandments into 610 other laws that you have to abide by in order to be this people of God. And God said, now this is according to the story. According to the story, God was like, why did y'all even, it's no way that any of you can adhere to all of these rules and regulations. You will never be able to live up to this. So I tell you what, I'm going to change the way that you think about the law. I'm going to change the way that the law impacts you. And instead of being punitive, I'm going to grant you grace. And that's how we got Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ said, okay, here I come to take the sins of the world. So you no longer have to be bound by all of this rigid structure. You don't have to pray 3 times a day. You don't have to do all these things, because grace grants you the opportunity to be who you were created to be. And because change is so hard for us and we are conditioned to be traditional in our thinking, we won't even let go of the sin that Christ even said, wait, you don't even have this anymore. It's not even yours. But we would rather be sinners because why? Because fear of becoming something else, fear of letting go of what we've held on to makes me have to rethink who I am. I have to rethink how I move. I have to rethink. It's so easy to allow Jesus to be the scapegoat. Well, I'm just a work in progress. It's easy for us to do that. But if you let go of that traditional teaching that tells you are a sinner, now you got to be somebody else in the world. You got to be who God created you to be in the world. And that means you got to sit with yourself and figure out how you are supposed to be gifted, how you are gifted in the ways that we need you to be in order to make this world a better place. So that is the greatest change that we refuse to accept, many people, especially Black folks in America. And so this fear that we have, we're looking at it as a way of protecting ourselves from something that's going to cause us harm. We're looking at it as a way to protect ourselves as something going to cause us, that something might cause us pain. That is true. That is a way that fear can be perceived. Absolutely. That's true. You want to protect yourself. You don't want to experience any pain. You don't want anybody to harm you. But what fear does physiologically, it's going to exact a response from your body. So when you feel like you are scared, then your body is going to respond in one of 3 ways. Either you're going to fight, or it's going to be flight, or it's going to be freeze. So either you're going to be paralyzed to the point that you cannot move because you are so afraid, or you're going to say, look, I got to get out of here. You're going to start running. You're going to change your direction and go in a different way to get away from the trauma, the harm, the pain. or you're going to fight it. You're going to confront it. You're going to stand 10 toes down and allow it to be something that you contend with in order for you to overcome. And so what those responses do, whether it's the flight response, whether it's the freeze response, whether it is the fight response, all three of those responses prepare you for action. So if you decided to look at fear through that lens, yeah, I'm afraid of something, but that's this fear. What this is that I'm feeling is getting me ready. What this is that I'm feeling is giving me an opportunity to do something in this moment. And I can choose whatever that is. I've got the freedom. I'm liberated to choose whatever that is. And what I'm asking you to consider is when you feel that fear, when you realize that something has gotten you afraid, that you would allow yourself to lean into the response that says, prepare for action. It's now time for us to do something. And I was thinking about that because I wanted to bring up the neo-Nazis that showed up in Arkansas. I don't remember the day, but they showed up in Arkansas. They have their goal is to show up in front of as many state capitals as possible, because that's the mission that they're on, to show up with the message that they are sending, that they want an ethno state. Caller, you're live on the air, KBF. Thanks for calling.
Well, one quick thing I would like to say. You know, when I say about how slavery was okay in the Old Testament, okay, now I understand the New Testament, but in the New Testament, I don't know whether they said Jesus said it, and you know, somebody was, a new reporter, somebody was walking around writing down everything you see. So that's questionable. Now, if that say, honor your slave master as you would God, Jesus, the real man, would never say nothing like this. That is totally bold. You go honor a man, we should look up to him just like you would the Creator, and he got you in slavery, oppressing you, and doing out anything wrong. You can't think of sin that happened to people that I can think of. But you go honor him like you would the source that we come up from. See, that's crazy. We just don't even question what the book is saying. And then if you go to the pastor, they'll glide all over the place, jump every which way to try to justify wrong. And that's all I gotta say.
Thank you, caller. I appreciate that. So this is the way that I talk about the Bible. First of all, let's think about the Bible in just a minute, since the caller brought it up, Tony brought it up with religion. But the Bible is a political resource. It's a political reference. And that's one of the things that we don't talk about. And so when the caller is questioning whether or not Jesus said something, he's speaking to the fact that so many of us believe that the Bible is God speaking to us directly through whoever the writer is. That's the way we've been conditioned to believe it. But the way that the language that I use when I'm referring, especially to the words that are supposedly coming out of Jesus' mouth, I say that these are the words that they put in Jesus' mouth. Whoever the writer is, the writer said Jesus said this. It's not Jesus said it. The writer said that Jesus said. So the writer, because the writer has the power of the pen, can make Jesus say anything, because the Bible is a story. So these are characters in the Bible, and whoever is in charge of telling the story gets to make the character do whatever they want the characters to do. And so I need the Bible at this time. People, we talk about this world now, you needed a slave. And in order for you to get the slave to do everything you need to do, you want to use every trump card you have, everything you can do to get this slave to be able to move in the way that you want them to move, so that you can exploit, so that you can benefit from it. And that's the part of the Bible that we don't want to talk about, because we don't want to change the way we see God. We don't want to change the way we understand Jesus. We don't want to even accept the fact that Sophia is that female manifestation of God. We don't even want to talk about those things. And so that's what the conversation is about, just getting you to consider that just maybe there are some things that you need to change. And so when we talk about slavery in the Bible, you brought up the fact that, you have to, slaves obey your master. But let's talk about the book of Philemon, right? This is just one chapter, this book where there's Onesimus is a slave who escapes from slavery. I mean, he escapes from slavery, winds up where Paul is. And Paul says, oh, wait a minute now. It's my duty to send you back to your slave owner. Now, wait a minute, what now? So think about the system of enslavement in America, and let's draw a parallel. And so we used to have people that would hunt enslaved folk down, because you're gonna get what do you call it? You're gonna get some money. You like a bounty hunter, and you're gonna be rewarded for hunting that. How dare a slave, an enslaved person run away? We're gonna hunt you down, and then we're gonna bring you back, and we're gonna whip you even worse in front of everybody, because we're gonna make a statement through the desecration of your body. And so here we have in the Bible an exact parallel of that, where this man is liberated, gets to the apostle, gets to the preacher man, gets to the man of God that they believe, this is Paul, that they believe can do all these things because he's Paul, and he was called by Jesus to be a disciple and turned into an apostle when he started a church. And it was the preacher man, the pastor, that sent him back. So yes, we have to begin to think differently about what it is that we are reading and thinking about as it relates to all things, but just because he brought up the Bible, including the Bible.
Yeah, and that's the thing. At some point in time, we all have to stop and rethink so many things to, as I said, be enlightened. And you have to take the information that you have. You have to do your own research with you. Look at you, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier. And when I look at my birthday, when I look at today,
it's your birthday.
So I think about all the iterations. I think about all the changes. I think about all the ups and downs that has gotten me to this day. And I remember having a conversation with the Reverend Doctor.
You can call me Denise.
Denise down there one day. It was when I had my 60th birthday, and I was messed up for a year. From 60 to 61, I was just really out of sync, because I never thought I'd get to 60. I never thought I'd live past 60, just based on the circumstances of my life. But then all of a sudden, I'm 61, and I didn't have a plan, for after 60. So now I had to make some changes. And it was difficult because the only thing I could base my changes on was my past. And I think when you talk about fear, a lot of times our past will influence where we are and our future. And so it's difficult sometimes for us to make that change, because when we look at our future, we look at where we're going, we got so much baggage, traditions, indoctrinations from our past that we feel like we can't change. I have to be this way because that's the way I've always been. And that becomes difficult for us. And so I do agree with you, Denise, that at some point in time, one of those three things is going to happen. Either you're going to fight, you're going to flight, or you're going to get free. And freedom, it said freedom ain't free. Freedom costs something. And what I mean that it costs something, it costs you forgetting about some things. It costs you changing some things. It costs you sacrificing some things to get to that freedom.
Okay, let me just clarify. So the three physiological responses to fear are fight, flight, or freeze. Fight, flight, or freeze. However, if you lean into the fight part of it, it'll help you get free. So absolutely, so it all works together. And then so when we talk about this group, the neo-Nazis, they call themselves a blood tribe that came here to Arkansas in order to demonstrate in front of the Capitol, but also at the historic site of the Little Rock Central High, and also to just totally disrespect Daisy Gaston Bates Street, and then Dr. King. Like they were just very disrespectful. But they were here because their mission is to create an ethno state. They want to use violence to get rid of all people that they consider non-white. All people, not just black folk, brown folk, whoever. If you are not considered white, they want to get rid of all of you because they believe that this state, that this country, that this world should be run by white folks. Because we're still talking about the system of white inhumanity at work with them. And so these are younger folks. I think the organizer, Zachary Plummer, I think he's like 26 or something. So these are older folks, younger folks who are carrying this tradition that they don't want to change because they were indoctrinated by the people before them who didn't want to change it. So they're carrying it on. And so after they showed up, I wanted to just make sure you knew who I was talking about, the blood tribe. So they show up, and I don't even want to get into the police right now. I don't want to get into the police monitoring. I don't want to get into that right now because we only have a few minutes. I want to get into the part where I talk about how fear can be used to prepare us for action. So Tony, when you were talking about, well, all I have to lean into is what happened in my past. Well, there's a way that you can weaponize your past to help you get free by not saying I got to take all of my past. I don't have to take everything from my past and consider. I don't have to consider all of it. But the gift of Sankofa to us from our ancestors, from our African ancestors, the gift of Sankofa says, let me look back and reflect over my life and let me pull from that those things that I know can be applied now, the principles that can help me move forward now. There's something back there, even in the pain, even in the trauma, even in the negative lived experiences, even in the oppression, even in the discrimination, even in the dehumanization. It's something back there that I can use as I move forward so that I can get free. So that your past does not have to necessarily steer you in or keep you from moving in a better direction. It can say, you can use it and say, oh, okay, I'm going to use these lessons that I learned. Now I can see them as lessons. I definitely could not see them as lessons at that time, but now I can reflect on them and I'm going to draw from them what I need. And so what I'm asking us to consider about the word fear is that it's a normal response. First of all, you can't not be afraid. If something scares you, that is a normal response in your body. Yes, we're going to honor that. But if we honor it by saying, oh, okay, I'm scared, that means now I'm prepared to do something. So when we think about these neo-Nazis that came into our state, because 22 of them, none of them were from Arkansas. They came into our state, and don't let me get off track. They came into our state. And so they were here to spread their message. And there were people who responded with statements. The NAACP had a statement. Mayor Frank Scott had a statement. Nancy Rousseau, who is the principal of Central High, had a statement. House of Representatives Denise Ennett had made a statement. And all of their statements were relatively the same, right? Like, oh, I detest this. I decry this. This should not have happened. I want to make sure that you know that we're doing everything to make sure that you're safe. They left out of here. They're not going to cause any harm. Like the statements, I put them all together. All those statements together pretty much said that. But what none of the statements said is what you're going to do about it. None of the statements said, this is what because some people were scared. Based on Nancy Rousseau's response. Some people were scared. Oh my goodness, I'm scared. Okay, so you feel that fear. What does this mean? Now fear for you says, okay, what is the action that this fear is preparing me to do? What are we going to do about it so that this does not happen again? What are we going to do about it so that these laws will change? What are we going to do about it so that the police and the Arkansas State Police and the Little Rock Police Department, that you move differently the next time? Because they had to apply for a permit, right? They could not. That's why they said, well, they were lawfully assembling, because they had to apply. So you knew this was coming. You allowed it to come based on your constitution, based on your law, because that's what the mayor said. Well, they were upholding the Constitution. Well, there's something wrong with the Constitution. And so what are we going to do about it? I'm really tired. I'm like the caller that calls in, and I'm going to find you, Black King. I'm going to find you. He calls in. He always says, listen, we gotta stop talking. We're just talking. All we're doing is talking about stuff. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna move? How are we gonna respond? And that's the part that I feel like is missing from the conversation. And oh my goodness, I wish I had more time, because I do have some steps for us. But Tony, do you want to say something?
Yeah, here's what it goes back to, and it goes back to what you said, Denise, about this idea of white supremacy, white people running this.
White inhumanity, yeah.
Yeah, white inhumanity. And so it's amazing that Black people or brown people of color, you can drive down a street in Little Rock and it's three of you in the car. There's a great chance you getting ready to pull over by the police. But if you're a white neo-Nazi, you can ride in the back of a U-Haul, which is illegal.
Illegal. And they monitoring you
They
as you go.
watching
Little Rock,
you.
the police department, Little Rock Police Department, they do nothing. Waiting on you to get over there to the 630, waiting on you to get to 440, and then call the Arkansas State Police. So because we heard they were armed. Oh, that's because all you do is kill people who are unarmed. You don't want to kill the people that's armed, but you'll kill the people that's unarmed. Oh my goodness.
And then all you do is get a driver ticket.
A citation, that's all.
Yeah. You know, and so that's the thing. That's the thing that we have to look at, that when you talk about change, you know, fear should push that change. Because let me tell you, if they didn't do nothing about them coming into neighborhoods and just walking around, you know, next time they're gonna be armed, waiting on you. And if you decide as a Black person, well, I'm gonna defend my neighborhood, guess who's gonna get killed and guess who's gonna get arrested?
Yeah, maybe they would kill him. But I do want to, since you brought us to that point, there were some Black people that did raise up against these neo-Nazis. So I do want to say that we even had a white accomplice, if I understand the story correctly. We had a white accomplice. White man was like, get out of it, and he got arrested, right? So he was an accomplice, like, this is wrong. So there were some people who tried to respond, but these are citizens. And right now I'm talking about the government. I'm talking about the people that are in charge, the people that have the power of the pen, the people that are have the authority in this state. And so Mayor Frank Scott is an example that I want to use of what the only step I can leave us with. I got one step to leave us with. Now, let me say this clearly. I am not judging Frank Scott. I'm pulling his words to use for my argument for how we can move differently. The words came out of his mouth. That's where I got the words from. But I'm not trying to judge him. I'm just picking the fruit. This is what he said, and I'm just telling you what he said. He says, as a Black man, it pissed me off. Talking about the neo-Nazis. As a Black man, it pissed me off. But as the mayor, well, you know, they upheld the Constitution. They abided by the law, right? As a Black man, I'm pissed off. But as a politician, they did what they were supposed to do, And then part of the statement from the Little Rock Police Department was that we want to honor people's right to assemble legally, right? And so
Ask Don Jeffries that.
Ask Don Jeffries that, who had to go to jail.
Had to go to jail.
Missed time with her child, her precious child, which damaged their relationship, like all kinds of, because she dared to be with the to assemble, Black Lives Matter movement. But here's what I feel like has to happen to everybody with your own identity, but especially the Black folks. What you're going to have to do, what we're going to have to do, what we must do, it is imperative that we do, is we're going to have to understand that in this world, in this country, in whatever state you live in, you should always think about yourself as Black first and respond with your fear from that lens, not from the lens of being no politician, not from the lens of being no representative, not from the lens of being no congressman. We need you to see yourself and identify yourself, because what happens then, if you do not do that, you now compromise. You can't be true to yourself. You cannot live into the fullness of your divinity because you are afraid, and the fear of losing whatever benefits you are getting by compromising your identity is worth more than you standing 10 toes down on who you are. And again, this is for everybody in every identity. I'm just talking about Black folks right now because that's what we do. We center Black folks. I told y'all what I do. Any man that's trying to step to me, one of the questions that I ask, are you Black first or a Christian first? Just, and I don't have this look on my face, because when I'm on a date, I be looking kind of sexy, so I didn't have no look on my face. And they say, oh, well, I got to be a Christian first. Oh, okay, I know we're not having another date, because we have to see what the neo-Nazis did. They said, listen, we ain't scared to demonstrate, to show, no matter what the ramifications are. First of all, they ain't really have to worry about them too much. But even if there had been consequences, they willing to, whatever the consequences, we're willing, because we believe so much in our cause. We're going to mobilize, we're going to rally around these things. We have more to think about because we might get killed. That's true. But if you are in a war, what happens in a war? People die. There are casualties, and we are at war. So some of us are going to get hurt. Some of us going to lose a job. Some of us going to lose relationships. Some of us going to lose status. That's what you have to do if you are ready to fight. So I'm suggesting that the first step that we take is we understand that fear can prepare us for action, and that we can, number two, we can act according to who we are in this world and use every tool at our disposal, even our faith, to help us fight so that we can be free. I was waiting to see if you want to say something.
No, I mean, I agree with you. And I just want to say this. We have to stop. The Constitution is not worth the paper it's written on.
Say that again.
Yeah, you can take the Constitution and wipe your ass with it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because that's what it's worth. That's what it's worth. They changed it. I mean, it does not make any sense. And the Constitution, to be honest with you, when it was written for one class of people: white, Protestant, landowners. Men. Period. Everybody else did not matter. If you want that, you didn't matter. And so that's still in play. It's still in play. And all you have to do is look at how over the past 10 years, how one thing was done, then it changed. You know, it just depends on who's sitting in that black robe to change what the Constitution says. So the Constitution ain't working.
And so our vote can change who sits at the table with the black robes on. When we talk about voting, it can always be incorporated into the things that we have to do. Tim Merriweather says, "It's happy birthday."
What's up,
birthday? Tim said, "Happy birthday." So that's what I have to offer to us today, to not be overwhelmed and overcome and overtaken by your fear, but to remember that fear can be used to prepare you for action. And so you can fight, you can flight, you can run away, or you can freeze and you can be paralyzed. No matter which one of those things happens, even if you choose to be paralyzed, even if you choose to run away, the changes are still going to come. You cannot stop change. And so the better response would be that, how do I position myself with this change to make sure that I can use it myself, use who I am to affect how this change impacts my life. We have power. We got more power than we give ourselves credit for, and we can use it. Thank you so much for joining us for Community Voices. You have been live right here at KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. Your girl Lola is ready with 2 hours of jazz. She's coming right up next, and she always starts with the ladies. So I'm going to get you started with Lettucey. I told you that the way I came to know her was through this song that you can find on the soundtrack to Selma. And this is, this is Take My Hand, Precious Lord. Okay, we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.